watching 90 International live from Cairo. It's time for the breakfast show with myself, Nesreen, Bahaa, and Shireen Adel, my dear colleague and friend. Happy Eid, Shireen.
Happy Eid, Nesreen. Happy Eid to all our viewers. And of course, in this edition, we will talk about Eid al-Adha and Hajj rituals, as pilgrims today are throwing stones on the symbol of Satan as part of Hajj rituals. We'll try to know more about this with our guests for today, and they are going to tell us more about the meaning behind these rituals. Yes,
Shireen, and with the rituals, the religious symbols of Eid, we have other rituals, you know, the food, the fata. Did you have fata this morning?
Yes, of course we did yesterday.
Yes. Each and every Egyptian house, and probably most of the Muslim countries, have their own rituals in food. Happy Eid to everyone, Shireen.
Yes, Nesreen. Also, dear viewers, now we'll have a look on the weather forecast. This day, history, the culture agenda. Nesreen will be back with the press review, so stay tuned.
On the 21st of July 1994, Tony Blair is declared the winner of the leadership election of the British Labour Party, paving the way for him becoming Prime Minister in 1997. Blair, a former British Labour Party politician born 6th of May 1953, served as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from the 2nd of May 1997 till the 27th of June 2007. He was elected leader of the Labour Party in the leadership election of July 1994, following the sudden death of his predecessor, John Smith. He was succeeded as leader of the Labour Party and as Prime Minister by Gordon Brown.
Hello and welcome again. You're watching The Breakfast Show and it's time for our daily review of the local press. And we start our review with Al Masri Al-Yawm newspaper, and we read from Al Masri Al-Yawm: President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson exchanged views in a phone call on Tuesday regarding means to promote trade, investment, health and security cooperation between the two countries, in addition to the efforts to combat terrorism. The call also touched upon the latest developments in a number of regional issues of common interest, including the latest developments in Libya and the Palestinian territories, in addition to the developments in the dispute caused by the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the GERD. Concerning the GERD issue, al-Sisi reiterated Egypt's consistently held position, which is based on the adherence to the country's historical rights to the Nile waters and the importance of its water security. He called upon the international community to live up to its responsibilities to push negotiations with Ethiopia and Sudan to reach a comprehensive, just and legally binding agreement on the filling and operating of the GRD. PM Johnson expressed his support for efforts to resume the negotiations in order to reach a just solution to the decade-old issue. And leaving Al Masri Al-Yawm to Al Ahram newspaper, where we read from Al Ahram: President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi performed Eid al-Adha prayers on Tuesday morning at the Malik al-Mulk Mosque in Matruh's New Alamein city. Al-Sisi was accompanied by Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Defense Minister Mohammed Zaki, Armed Forces Chief of Staff Mohammed Farid, senior military leaders and a number of ministers, among others, who performed the prayers. Eid al-Adha, which is one of the two main religious holidays in Islam, falls on the 10th day of Dhul Hijjah, the 12th month of the Islamic calendar. Still with Al Ahram newspaper. We read from Al Ahram newspaper: President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi followed up on Tuesday on the progress in the construction of the City of Culture and Arts in New Alamein city, one of the country's new urban development projects that is projected to be a major residential and tourist destination on the Mediterranean coast. Accompanied by a number of high-ranking officials, al-Sisi arrived earlier today in Matruh's New Alamein city to perform Eid al-Adha prayers at the Malik al-Mulk Mosque. Following the prayers, al-Sisi was briefed by Housing Minister Asim Al-Ghazzar on the work floor and the construction of buildings and facilities in a new art city which spans over a space of 260 fidans. The art city is said to be a culture entertainment outlet for New Alamein and the northwestern coast, according to presidential spokesman Bassem Radi. It boasts a wide range of artistic and cultural activities, including movie and theater complexes, an open Roman theater for concerts and musical performances, and an opera house in addition to exhibition grounds. It also comprises a center for developing Bedouin skills, a project that aims to preserve the heritage of Alamein, in addition to a central library and places of worship. And leaving Al Ahram newspaper to Al Wafd newspaper, where we read from Al Wafd: amid precautionary measures against the coronavirus pandemic, millions of Egyptians performed Eid al-Adha prayers on Tuesday. Major mosques of Al-Azhar, Amr ibn al-As, Mustafa Mahmoud in Cairo and Giza were full of worshippers with their families, who started celebrating these days with prayer performance. Mosques in other governorates witnessed a huge turnout of worshippers. Eid al-Adha is the most significant feast for Muslims worldwide, as it marks the end of the Hajj, or pilgrimage, to the holy city of Mecca. Moving to Akhbar Al-Yawm newspaper, we read from Akhbar Al-Yawm: the Health Ministry on Tuesday confirmed 51 new coronavirus cases, bringing the country's total number of confirmed cases up to 283,813, and the total number of COVID-19 related deaths has now reached 16,457 nationwide, after the ministry announced 5 deaths. And 769 patients were discharged from quarantine at isolation hospitals, raising Egypt's total number of fully recovered cases to 225,068. And moving to Al-Shuruq newspaper, we read from Al-Shuruq, Egypt has vehemently condemned a terrorist attack that targeted a civilian area in Iraq's Sadr city on Monday, leaving 100 people dead and wounded. In a statement issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Cairo extended its heartfelt condolences to the victims' families, as well as to the Iraqi government and people wishing the wounded a speedy recovery. Egypt reaffirmed its full solidarity with Iraq as regards whatever measures it would take to preserve its security and stability. In this regard, Cairo reiterated its call for Iraqi parties to prioritize the Iraqi national interest. And still with the Shuruq newspaper, we read from Al-Shuruq, Minister of Social Solidarity and Vice President of the Egyptian Red Crescent Society, Naveen Al-Qabbaj, on Tuesday announced the launch of a 4th urgent relief aid to Palestine as a continuation of Egyptian efforts to provide Palestine with medical supplies and other aid. The Palestinian Red Crescent received relief support aid from the Egyptian Red Crescent in order to fill the shortage of supplies for people in need. Over 160 tons of aid were transported through a fleet of more than 20 heavy transport vehicles from Al-Ismailiyah, accompanied by a delegation from the Relief Administration and the volunteers from the Egyptian Red Crescent. Moving to Al-Wafd newspaper, we read from Al-Wafd, Ireland on Monday has removed Egypt from its red list of travelers to Ireland, which includes countries from which arrivals are subject to a mandatory quarantine in an Irish hotel for 12 days. The Irish Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that based on the decision, a compulsory hotel quarantine is not imposed on those coming from Egypt to Ireland. This decision came following the Egyptian ambassador to Ireland, Khalid Tharwat's efforts by communicating with the relevant Irish authorities to explain the measures taken by the Egyptian government to confront the COVID-19 pandemic. The decision is expected to help the greater return of travel and tourism between the two countries and achieve bilateral cooperation in many diverse fields, especially in economy and investment. And moving to Al-Masri Al-Yawm newspaper, we read from Al-Masri Al-Yawm, the Egyptian Meteorological Authority on Tuesday announced that today is hot and humid, while the weather in Cairo and Delta, the North Coast, during the Eid al-Adha holiday. The weather will be very hot in Upper Egypt and South Sinai. Temperatures will cool at night across the country. Active winds are expected for Greater Cairo, the North Coast and South Sinai. Humidity will increase the perceived temperatures by 2 and 4 degrees. High temperatures for cities around Egypt are as the following: high of 37 degrees in Cairo and Delta, 31 degrees North Coast, 40 degrees South Sinai, and 39 degrees Northern Upper Egypt, and 45 degrees Southern Upper Egypt. That ends our press review for our local newspapers for today. Thank you for watching and stay for more coming up with Shireen Adel on The Breakfast Show.